Good morning, my friends. Justice here. Want to start sharing my approach to training, and I figure what better place to start than the warm-up, when you first wake up. Now, I've done videos in the past of breathing exercises like I'm about to show, as well as dynamic tension, which I'm about to explain. I'm more interested in sharing the principles behind it so that people can adapt it to themselves individually. It's more the principle. When I wake up, I find the most valuable thing for me to do is to wake my core up and my breath up. This engages my body. This reconnects me back into this suit to start the day engaged. So, oftentimes I'll start in what's called rock pose, which is where you're sitting on your knees. I like to have my toes on the ground. This is how they have you sit in Muay Thai. Really opens up your feet as well. If that hurts, you can straighten your feet out and just sit on your knees. Once you have a comfortable seated position, you can also do this standing. Begin with breath of fire. Breath of fire is using the stomach as the diaphragm. By engaging and pulling the stomach in and up, it naturally will push air out of the lungs. So without trying to exhale, we're using our stomach to push air out of our lungs. We're not trying to inhale intentionally or exhale. We're relaxing all of this up here, and the only tension is coming from the core. So this is called breath of fire in yoga. In yoga, there is a sect, an arm, a branch of the yogas called pranayama, and that's all breathing exercises. It's an amazing place. I'm diving back into that because the breath has become much more prominent in my practice. The air element is more of my focus right now. So, the pattern that I like the most begins with breath of fire, and you do that as long as you can comfortably. They say around 60 breaths. I go further when my body's feeling good. At the end of that, I breathe out completely. And we'll do what's called a stomach vacuum. This is a Kriya, or a cleansing exercise in the yogas. So after the breath of fire, you get fully oxygenated. You're actually getting hypercarbon buildup, carbon dioxide buildup, but go into that later. Fully exhale. And we're pulling our stomach back. Your hands are on your knees. Chin is tucked. While you're holding the breath out. When you're ready to breathe in, you relax the stomach first. Then let the lungs fill. My third part of the pattern that I like to repeat, after that, you take a full inhale. And I like to start engaging in what is termed pandiculation. I saw this movie once, I can't quote it, it was a comedy, and this guy was about to go do some crazy physical feat, and his friend was like, "Aren't you gonna warm up first?" And he was like, "Have you ever seen a lion warm up before he hunts a gazelle?" And that made me think, no, you never see animals warm up or stretch. Why don't they pull things? But, in fact, you do. Every time your cat gets up from a nap, you'll see him fully. It's this squeezing, stretching. I'm sure you're familiar with your body naturally doing it some mornings when you wake up. You just take this inhale and you're expanding while you're tensing. It's this dynamic expansion and contraction. I've done a video in the past on dynamic tension. It's the same concept. But since you have the feeling, since you have experienced that kind of a stretch naturally, follow that feeling. Understand that concept. That's pandiculation. It's one of the greatest ways to warm up. It has to be the best exercise on the planet. And we can direct that depending on what part of our body we're trying to wake up, depending on how we feel. So I like to, as the third step of that exercise, after my stomach vacuum, take a big inhale. Exhale. As you saw there, I took a big inhale and I held it. And I used that pressure internally to redirect things. I've spoken of this before, but I shattered my collarbone 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, and I actually reset it 2 weeks after the fact by doing dynamic tension. When you breathe in, you fill your lungs and you have more pressure available to you. This pressure can direct force, can help to realign muscles, bones in your body. And ultimately, it just engages us more with our body. So pandiculation, really playing around with that one. That is my basic pattern of how I warm up in the morning. So I'll get clear, sit. And I'll just repeat rounds of that. Now I already know that's quite complicated, and so for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna leave it there. If you want any of these parts focused on more specifically, please comment and say so. Other than that, I'm gonna try to keep it simple and slowly stack one exercise after the next on top of each other. A lot of it is just learning them individually, and then learning, once you really know them because you've repeated them a lot, learning which one is most valuable right now. So that's the breath, vacuum, dynamic tension pattern that I like to warm my body up with. Having a full inhale, filling your lungs, be very careful of that part, heads up. You want to build up to that, especially once you start generating some strength, because you can really generate pressure. And it's the ability when you fill your lungs and squeeze to generate that pressure that can generate force. This can help us lift more weight or exert more force externally. So be very careful with that. Could definitely almost pass out. So you can see it got me quite warm. Warm up worked. But taking those full inhales, and the pressure helps to expand the lungs. When we open the lungs, we open our mind. So we want to really stretch the full capacity of our lungs every morning. You could even just loop the pandiculation repeatedly with full inhales. Pressurizing, squeezing your core with full lungs. Exhaling, relaxing all the tension. Shaking. That's the second exercise you can learn from animals. There is a scientific term for it that I do not know at this time, but making sure to shake and get loose as well. Big inhale. Dynamic tension. Exhale. Shake. Those are some concepts, some ideas that you can play with in the morning when you're waking your body up, or any time during the day if you feel you're getting tired, mid-afternoon. Waking the core up will wake the body up. Waking the breath up will wake the mind up. So that's how we start the morning off. Getting fully engaged, clear, everything's circulating. Boom! Great way to start the day. Awesome, guys. How do you like to start the day? What's your ideal practice in the morning? And if there's any specific direction or type of training you are most interested in, please share that. And I'm just gonna gradually share it over time. There's a lot of variety that I do, so I'm gonna do my best to keep it simple, and see how that goes. As always, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Aloha.